It's 5 p.m. here in Moscow. It's Tuesday, the 17th of November. You're live with RT International. The big headline today, Russian security services have confirmed that the Metrojet passenger jet that crashed in Egypt's Sinai Peninsula was brought down by a bomb. Experts say insufficient checks during boarding at the Egyptian airport are the security flaw they think that could have allowed terrorists to bring an explosive on board. And the Russian military says it's carried out more strikes against ISIL targets, hitting now the de facto capital Raqqa with a number of cruise missiles. Hi, thanks for being with RT International this hour. My name's Kevin Owen, a pleasure to have your company. So then again, the top story is this today. Investigators looking into the crash of a Russian passenger jet in October say they found traces of explosives among the wreckage. Russia's security services are now confident, they say, that a bomb equivalent to 1 to maybe 1.5 kilograms of TNT brought down that plane, which was flying over the Sinai Peninsula at the time at the end of October from Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt back home to St. Petersburg.
We checked the remains of personal belongings, baggage and parts of the aircraft. As a result of the examinations, we found traces of an explosive device of foreign origin. According to our experts, an improvised bomb with a capacity of up to 1 kilogram of TNT exploded on board the aircraft. As a result, the plane fell apart in the air. This explains the large scatter of the plane's fuselage over such a vast area. We can definitely say that this was an act of terror.
So here is further to that, a minute-by-minute account of what we know about the last minutes of that Metrojet flight. On October the 31st, the Russian jet aircraft departed from the Egyptian resort of Sharm el-Sheikh at 3:51 in the morning GMT. Just 20 minutes later, it just about reached its full cruising height. When at 4:13 a.m. it failed to make scheduled contact with air traffic control. Here's how that plane's altitude changed then throughout the flight. We've got a graph. Shows it climbing up as it should have done. Nothing wrong till then. It's about 10 kilometers, but then suddenly, bang, it lost altitude and suddenly, rapidly started falling. Well, here's what, of course, the crash site looked like very soon afterwards. Awful scene. I spoke to aviation operations expert Julian Bray earlier to get his thoughts on how this could have happened. He says it could have been, he thinks, an airport security failure that enabled the terrorists to get a bomb on that plane.
I rather favour the idea that he went on board at Sharm el-Sheikh because I'm afraid security at that particular airport has been lacking for many years. In fact, you're not looking at a very large package. You're actually looking at the equivalent of a bag of sugar or this 1 litre Tetra Pak. That's all it needs to actually get it on board the aircraft. So that could go under an overall and then you just slip it into the luggage and walk away. The holiday traffic is about 11% of gross national product. It is very important to them. And now they have to treat their passengers and their guests, because we are guests, with the greatest respect and make sure that we are totally safe. Now, I'm not too impressed with some of the utterances that are coming out of Cairo. I don't think they realize the gravity of the situation. So they're really going to have to raise their game a little bit.
Well, over the coming hours, days, weeks, there'll be many question marks asked and hopefully answered about the security there. But let's look at Sharm el-Sheikh International Airport on the face of it, just like any other airport at a major holiday hub. There you go. If you've been there, you'll know. This is what it looks like. You go in, the usual kind of thing. You see the departure screens, passengers enter the terminal, then they go through security checkpoints. And there, where the big question marks are going to be, that's a holiday airport, usually long queues there. And millions of tourists, of course, go through that airport every year. Only takes one rogue person, maybe two, maybe a couple more, working at that airport to let things go so horribly wrong. There have been concerns at the security standards at that busy airport. Apparently, for a while, they've been raised long before the crash. Lots of stories have come to the forefront over the last couple of weeks. Some travellers have alleged that you can easily bribe airport staff for a fast-track service, so to speak, with queue jumping costing just about $20. But that might seem a small price, but look at the price it may have cost. Others have described Egyptian security guards playing games on their phones instead of scanning bags, maybe even smoking, even sleeping on the job. In May 2015, that airport was disrupted after a man actually managed to enter through a hole in the airport's perimeter fence. Seems he managed to get onto the runway area too and try to steal a police car. Furthermore, when the man approached a parked plane, he climbed the boarding stairs, attempted to get in. That didn't work. The doors were locked, but security personnel scrambled to stop him. Nonetheless, he still managed to pick up one of those wedges that they put onto the wheels of the plane and throw it into the engine. Well, he was arrested and hauled inside the terminal.
And at no point did my luggage go through any scanner. It was, when I think now, it's bizarre.
We just need to get home and we want to be safe as possible. So, yeah, good decision.
If you just joined us, this is a recap of our breaking news today. Investigators looking into the crash of that Russian passenger jet in late October have found traces, they say, of explosives among the wreckage. Russia's security services say they're now therefore confident that it was a bomb equivalent to 1 to 1.5 kilograms of TNT that brought that plane down. At the time, it was flying over the Sinai peninsula from Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, a very popular holiday destination with so many Russians, so many people from Europe. On its way back home again to St. Petersburg, of course, so tragically it never made it. The Russian president earlier on has called it an act of terrorism.
The killing of our people in Sinai is among the bloodiest crimes regarding the number of victims. We won't try to wipe away our tears. From our hearts and souls, it will remain with us forever. But that won't stop us from finding and punishing the criminals. Our airstrikes in Syria should not only be continued, but rather intensified. We are counting on the assistance of our partners in the search for terrorists. All those who attempt to assist the terrorists should know that the consequences will lie on their shoulders.
Somber and steadfast President Putin earlier on, just after the announcement had been made. It was confirmed it was a bomb that brought down that plane. Following the revelations, the Russian military has carried out more strikes on ISIL targets. The Russian fleet, including a large submarines, hit the area of ISIL's de facto capital Raqqa with a number of cruise missiles, it's been reported. That attack was launched from the Mediterranean last night, Tuesday night. The Russian president said Moscow is acting in accordance with Article 51 of the UN Charter, which provides the right to self-defense. Putin's spokesperson explained the president's words.
Russia's actions in fighting terrorism are in accordance with the norms of international law. This is the principle we will remain committed to. President Putin has constantly said that Russia will only conduct air operations, no boots on the ground. Speaking at the United Nations General Assembly, President Putin highlighted the idea of the united effort and the creation of a coalition. He talked about it on other occasions, including the G20 meeting. On other levels as well, Russia has spoken about the creation of such a coalition, but not all of our partners are interested in it yet.
Of course, need to make a correction there. It can't have been Tuesday night, must have been Monday night, because today is Tuesday. Sorry about that. Now, we spoke earlier on to Catherine Shakdam from the Shafakna Institute of Middle Eastern Studies in the UK. She told me earlier on that Moscow's approach to the investigation of the plane crash has shown the country to be the voice of reason, considering the situation in and around Syria.
Russia really handled the situation quite well in that, President Putin did not allow for the media to jump to conclusion before he knew exactly what happened. If I refer you back to 9/11 and how the U.S. handled the situation and jumped to the to conclusion very, very quickly, I would say within minutes. They straight away pointed the finger at Al Qaeda and they blame Islam and Muslim in general. So I think that what President Putin did is really bring reason to the table and understanding the repercussions that a very quick, thorough declaration would create in the Middle East. And I think that Russia is always trying to diffuse the situation and bring, again, reason to the table. And that says a lot about, what Russia wants to see happen in the Middle East. Rather than point the finger and blame in anger, they are trying to look at the situation calmly and trying to assess what it is that they need to do to address the situation in the right